the UN. At the UN, Nikki Haley was also trading barbs with her Russian counterpart, but she said we are not in a hurry. But her president may looks like didn't listen and didn't hear what she said, and he already ordered the taking of military action against Syria. Let us have your comments on this and the consequence of this action.
Well, the United States and Britain have been pushing for an attack on Syria to try to, to reverse the defeat they've suffered, because they've been backing the Islamic rebels, even though they're claiming they're fighting Daesh or the Islamic State. In fact, they've been arming them, helping them, paying their salaries, and trying to affect the youth. But they failed because the Syrian people resisted it with the help of Hezbollah, Iran, and of course the Russian Air Force. Now, Russia has said that if the United States attacks Syria, they're going to shoot down the missiles, plus take out the places that the attacks were launched for. We're going to have to see if the Russians are going to follow through with their promise, if they respond as they did in like this totally illegal attack that the Americans, French, and the British are doing. We'll see. It could escalate very much. Tomorrow we're at World War III.
Okay, Edward, sorry, I have to stop you there, and we'll come back to you later. We'll go back to Damascus to our correspondent, Mohammed Ali, and see what he has for us. Mohammed.
Yes, sounds of Syrian air defenses continue to be heard in Damascus and its countryside. Even from where I am sitting right now, I can also hear such sounds coming from the areas around me. Of course, also smoke was seen over Qasyun mountain, and this also refers that the Syrian air defense systems is working on repelling that attack. There are still sounds coming out, which also confirms that the U.S., British, French attack continues up till this moment, and the Syrian air defenses continue to repel that attack. It is clear that there are multiple targets, not just Damascus, but Damascus countryside. Also, reports say that there were sounds of explosions heard in Homs province. So the attack is happening at those moments right now. We will have to wait and see what the Syrian Army Command will issue regarding a statement on the details, of course, of what happened. Usually after several hours following such attacks, similar attacks, previous attacks, the General Command of the Syrian Army issues a statement clarifying what happened, what are the areas that were targeted, but not specifically. But it is expected that one of the main areas targeted is the Jumraya Scientific Research Center in Damascus countryside, and also Berzeh. It is clear also that every time there is a U.S. or Israeli attack or a Western attack on Syria, always the target systems over here. And this is not a surprise. The Syrian army has been saying since the start of the unrest that it is ready to repel any attack which is targeting Syria's sovereignty. President Bashar al-Assad said all actions, Western actions following any victory for the Syrian army on the ground and such threats would only create and increase instability in Syria and in the Middle East. And this is what we're seeing. Eventually, what is happening is more instability because of such attacks. But eventually, any official statement attack is not clear yet by the Syrian government. We will have to wait and see what will be the statement of both the Foreign Ministry and the General Command of the Syrian Army.
And Mohammed has also let us, let our viewers also know a little bit about any traces of use of chemical weapons. Syria and Russia, Damascus is now being under attack. No traces have been found of use of chemical weapons.
There's no evidence that there was any sort of chemical attack in eastern Ghouta, as terrorists claimed that the Syrian government attacked using chemical substances on the 7th of this month. But there was no evidence found, no proof found. The Russian military police and the Russian army also was over there inside the Duma after terrorists in the hospital where the supposedly chemical attack was happening. It was staged. This is what the Russians made it clear. It also, the Russian military police also interviewed some of the people, the civilians who were for the chemical attack inside the this attack, this attack right now comes just one day, less than 24 hours prior to an expected visit for an OPCW team in order to investigate what happened inside Duma. So the United States, Britain, and France did not even wait for an official, clear evaluation of what happened, an investigation. They just started striking with no clear evidence or proof on whether there was even a chemical attack and who was behind it.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Watch the developments there, Mohammed. We'll come back to you later on. We have breaking news Syrian TV saying that the airstrikes are targeting Damascus and the surrounding areas. No more details at this stage. We have breaking news just pouring. From elsewhere. Let me check some other points. Saying that again, Syrian TV is saying that the Syrian military is confronting the airstrikes with anti-aircraft weapons. The anti-aircraft battery itself, as our correspondent Mohammed Ali just said, is itself a target of it. Saying that he has ordered the French military to intervene in Syria together with the U.S. and Britain. We also have some from the UK's defense war for RAF Tornado fighter jets have taken part in the Syria airstrikes. This is just hot on the heels of Mr. Trump announcing the start of taking military action against Syria. We had Theresa May and Emmanuel Macron ordering their militaries to start taking action and maybe research facility has already been hit. And France is also the UK saying that they have used their tornado jets in the airstrikes. We also have they are responding to battery, so we'll have to wait and see while it go on. And it's also it started around 4 in the morning local time in Damascus and the countryside. Now we have Zahra Al-Dirzi, another correspondent of ours in Syria. Let's listen to Zahra and see what she has for us. Zahra.
Yes, till this moment, the situation is still very foggy, at least here for me. I mean, from my location in eastern of the capital, Damascus. The news we see, they are talking about striking the Damascus International Airport, which I can't confirm because from my location I could see if they were talking about flames. There was no flames from the side of the Damascus International Airport, but what I can confirm that a very near strike targeted a research center in Barze, especially that according to the news that were being reported from the UK and US, that this center was being put on the target list. The sounds of air defenses, the Syrian 2 minutes, then they resumed. We don't know if the attack, now there is a calm, but I don't know if the attack have ended or not yet, because every single minute the situation is being changed, and we can hear the resumption of the attack. Also reports are talking about targeting the Republican Guard positions in Qasyun Mount, which also we can't confirm yet. There is a lack of information till this moment. I think we could have more details when the attack ends, or as the Syrian army's sources will send more information.
Okay, Zahra, thank you for that. Keep an eye on the development, then we'll come back to it a little later. Well, as the UK's defense minister said that shadow missiles were used against. He was right. And this is what they say, that that facility, this is where Syria was assessed to keep chemical weapon precursors there. Let's see if that is. The W Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons has already confirmed that Syria has no chemical weapons and it's still disarmed. And these are just coming in. We have operation, in other words, and she tries civilians will not be, hopefully, the target. What we also hope that civilians will not fall victim to these, as what they call, precise attacks against Syria. Well, Jim Dean, managing editor of Veterans Today, is joining us. Let's ask Jim what he thinks about this and the repercussions of such military action.
Today, and the revelations being quite startling, and he had his attorney office. The first hearing was today, so some of the revelations came up there. This all makes me think that even though we thought possibly with the chemical weapons people in Damascus proceeding to go ahead and collect information and make a report, the general thinking is that the attack would be held off until they made their attack. So we're thinking that Trump decided and to be off of his problems, and he'll be playing the big commander-in-chief to try to deflect. And of course, FBI ex-director Comey is just beginning his book tour, and he knows that he paid a huge amount. So somebody,
Haley didn't expect this, as we just aired a piece of news in which Haley said that if we are not going to rush, but we may take military action. And immediately afterward, military action was taken.
Some people, we had Mattis, of course, saying we don't really have any proof, even though then he said, but we do think that it's Syria did do it. And then we had several others saying the same thing. And then on the other side, others saying, well, we're not going to rush to judgment. We want to make sure our information is correct. So in a way, it was almost like they were either incoherent, with the left hand not knowing what the right was doing, or this was done purposely so that they could say we're confused and Assad, so he won't know what they were going to do. But of course, our people in Damascus told us today that all the major buildings had already been emptied. The intelligence offices everybody was gone. The military installations, all the offices were gone. Everybody was underground. So they basically weren't waiting. So we'll sit here now, see how many missiles are fired, and by morning we'll start getting reports about interceptions, and we'll see what the Russians will have to say. Probably defense chief saying that we don't have really any real proof that Assad was behind this. So this is basically showing America saying we don't need proof. We will use whatever kind of excuse or allegations that we want to launch a military strike. And this has really put the big stamp of America the bully. And we're going to see now whether the American people wake up and realize that they may have a sociopath as
the capital Damascus. And we also have the Syrian Observatory saying that the Syrian government evacuated those military bases and airports that are targeted in these attacks. Now, Jim, if you're still with me, also let our viewers know why the UK and France, among European countries, not anyone else, should be joining Trump in this.
Because you have this thing. All want to think that we have a right to go back there and decide who's going to run those countries that used to be ours and now we have lost. It's really been embarrassed to see what Britain's doing. The country's broke. The middle class is being starved and turned into serfs, and yet they're trying to put on this guns and butter show that the British Empire still rules and we can bully people around. And this after we found
okay,
that they,
Jim, I'm sorry. I apologize. We have to stop there. And Theresa May is delivering a speech. Let's go listen to her.
We are acting